before we get to Brett Favre's commentary, Alex Curry is here with us today. Alex, I got a question for you because we just did the NBA, if you just tuned in, awards. For the folks around you, for the folks in your life that know you're in sports, around when do they start talking to you about basketball? Because I imagine the last few months, if anyone brings up, it's football, football, football. So when do they start turning the page to asking you your basketball takes?
I mean, where I live, it's very much a Lakers town. Being born and raised in Los Angeles, it's a Lakers town. I'm a huge LeBron fan. So we've been talking Lakers and LeBron for a really long time.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it ever stops, especially the run that they just had and being on this high of winning the championship.
Right.
So I don't think it ever stops, especially when you have the best of the best on your team, LeBron and the Lakers.
No, I think that's right.
It doesn't stop.
You know what? It was a dumb question by me. It's a dumb question by me. I forgot you were in L.A., and obviously L.A.'s a Lakers town.
Yeah.
There's like a small Clippers corner that Marcellus and Clipper Darrell live on, but aside from that, it's all Lakers. And so, yeah, I get it. When you've got the GOAT and you're the defending champs probably talking basketball all year, we will talk basketball with Chris Broussard in about 15 minutes. But we can't turn the page entirely from the Super Bowl just yet, as much as I desperately would like to. And Brett Favre, who knows a thing or two about not only playing in Super Bowls, but knows a thing or two about changing teams. Favre went from the Packers to the Jets, had the Jets near the playoffs, went from the Jets to the Vikings, had the Vikings to the conference championship game before that fateful why would you ponder passing interception. And Brett Favre has takes. These takes are about Tom Brady and whether any other quarterback could have done what he just did. Take a listen.
And there's no question that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have a very, very good team. And no disrespect to any of the other players, but the missing piece to that puzzle was Tom Brady. Now, if you'd have plugged in a different quarterback of his stature, Breeze, Rodgers, would that magical season still would have happened? I don't know, but I think Tom Brady, his leadership, his competitiveness, is he the most talented quarterback? I don't think anyone would say that, but he's got that it factor that you hear people talk about. He makes everyone around him so much better.
So here's the thing, and here's where Favre is right, and here's where Favre is wrong. I'm going to start with where he's wrong. Where he's wrong is there are a lot of quarterbacks that you could have plugged in at the beginning of the postseason, and the Bucs are still champions. There are a lot of quarterbacks that could have done what Brady did against Heineke and Washington, that could have just taken advantage of the fact that Drew Brees was unfortunately melting down in front of you in the Saints game. And there are a lot of quarterbacks that wouldn't have thrown 3 second-half interceptions in the conference championship game. And while Brady played well in the Super Bowl, he was roughly the 9th most important player on his own team in that Super Bowl, and assuming no matter who the quarterback was, the defense was going to do what the defense did and hold Patrick Mahomes to 9 points and 0 touchdowns, there are a lot of quarterbacks that if Brady would have been knocked out during the first round of the playoffs, and his backup would have been, he mentions Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if Breeze could have done it because Breeze seemed to be at the end of the run. But I think there are 15 quarterbacks that could have done what Brady did in the divisional round conference championship game in the Super Bowl, and the Bucs are still champions because the story of their run was what that defense did, and you can't even say the story of the run was Brady playing a clean game, because against the Saints, Brady almost threw 3 picks. Against the Packers, he did throw 3 picks. And against the Chiefs, the story was obviously the defense. So where Favre's wrong is if you're talking about starting in the postseason, a lot of guys could have ended up Super Bowl champions quarterbacking this team on this run. But where Brett Favre is absolutely correct is if you start all the way back in the offseason. Because what they say about Tom Brady there is enough at this point overwhelming firsthand testimony that you must believe it to be true. That he does inspire all those around him to work harder, to greater heights, to put in the extra reps, to believe that they can achieve something more. He does set the standard of excellence and preparation and give everyone on the roster a further confidence that, you know what, we can do this. We are never actually the underdogs because we have the greatest player of all time. And certainly, he's one of, I believe, the only players in the league who, after the Bucs had a downright mediocre first 3 months of the year, where they were 7-5, the last team in the league to get a bye week, hadn't beaten a single good team all year aside from the Packer game, that those guys would go into the bye week and instead of thinking same old Bucs, same old 7-9, 8-8, 9-7, miss the playoffs, believe we can be champions. And as an added bonus, Brady, taking a bit of a page out of LeBron's book, put his hands on the levers of general managing and convinced the team to bring in Antonio Brown. He's the only guy Gronk would have come out of retirement for. I think because Brady was there, they were more likely to take a flyer on Leonard Fournette. Because Brady was there, they were more likely to feel the sense of urgency in trading up in the draft and getting maybe the best tackle aside from Becton anybody got in the draft at 11th overall in Tristan Wirfs. All of that has Tom Brady's fingerprints all over it. And so I understand it sounds odd coming from me because I have been beating the drum over the last few years over the deterioration of his skill set. And prior to this year, I wasn't wrong. Prior to this year, all of the numbers confirmed, and Bill Belichick's own decisions confirmed he was seeing the same thing. Now, this year, Brady was excellent. He once again not only fought off aging, but seemed to reverse aging somewhat. Tom Brady's reversed aging in his play and in his face. He looks younger than he did 15 years ago. It's unbelievable, but that's not the point. Point is, I know it sounds weird coming from me because I've been a skeptic of his abilities, but I've never been a skeptic of his inspirational abilities. And there is a lot about sports that are about belief, that are about, I will follow you and I trust you and I will push myself further than I've ever pushed myself. And I do believe unquestionably Tom Brady inspires that in his teammates, unlike nearly any other quarterback in football. And while Rodgers is still currently, I know it sounds odd to say because Brady keeps winning. I think and Rodgers is league MVP this year. While Rodgers is the more talented player right now, if the Bucs were 7-5 going into the bye week, would players have rallied around Aaron the way they rallied around Tom? I don't know. I'm not saying it wouldn't have happened. I'm saying we don't know it would have happened. And with Tom, we unequivocally now do know. So I disagree with Brett if he's saying that Tom Brady's the only guy that could have quarterbacked this team in the playoffs to the Super Bowl, because that doesn't give Todd Bowles, the defense, and the entire team enough credit for the way they won these individual playoff games. But if he's saying Tom Brady joining this team 8 months ago had a almost butterfly effect impact that made them change the roster, that made guys decide whether or not they were going to opt out during COVID, all of it, and gave the team almost a swagger, that part, I think Brett Favre has exactly right. To transition a bit, the NBA is